platforms, including that partnership with YouTube.
Romaine?
Feeling what number? What am I feeling? What am I feeling? Tell me what I'm feeling.
Are you feeling outnumbered?
Oh, outnumbered?
Yeah.
No, I love all of you. Well, almost all of you. I won't tell you which one.
Uh-oh.
Wow, that's rough.
That hurts, man.
Interesting day here in the
I'm
markets.
joking.
Yeah.
Just differently.
That took a beat too long.
Yeah.
Well said, well said. S&P, as we know, as we all keep saying this, on track for its longest streak of gains since 2004, so big bounce here. It's almost like the tariff stress hasn't happened. It's not over, we know that, but what a reversal it feels like.
You know who's really not stressed about tariffs? The small cap issuers, because small cap index, Russell 2000, up over 2% today. And it was really rising after that positive economic data earlier this morning. All around risk on today.
Yeah, all around risk on, but at the moment, there's some technical analysts out there who still sees more clouds ahead. Tom DeMark accurately called the February top, the April low, and he says he sees another drop in the coming months that will lead to a bear market. So down 20% from the peak of the market.
And what I love about his call, though, he says that before we get there, we might actually retest some of the highs, and that kind of just shows you just how volatile this market is, that even with some of the more bearish calls on the street, they say, of course, the ride is not going to be linear in any stretch or of the imagination. As you get the closing bells here in New York, it is a solid day, green across the screen. We should point out, for the S&P 500, we're actually looking at one of the broadest rallies of the year. I think once we get the final tally, it might actually be at least the third broadest here in 2025. A gain of about 82 points or 1.5% on the day, and that's going to close out the week higher by about 3%. Similar gains on a daily and weekly basis for the other indices and averages. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up by more than 500 points or 1.4%. The Nasdaq up about 267 points or 1.5%, and the Russell 2000 gaining on the day about 2.2% and on the week higher by about 3%.
All right, quite a move to the upside. Just digging a little bit deeper into the S&P 500 today, guys. Broad-based buying. We'll see that more with Scarlett in just a moment. But 459 names in the S&P 500 gaining ground today. Only 44, Scarlett, to the downside.
Yeah, take a look at the IMAP. It's pretty straightforward here. Lots and lots of green. No red at all, at least in the 11 sectors here. The leaders in today's market, communication services, financials, both gaining at least 2%. Industrials up about 1.9%. The laggards are consumer staples and utilities, each down, or sorry, I misspoke. Each up, not yet 1%, but that just gives you a sense of the defensives trailing and underperforming the growthy areas of the market.
A lot of green there. So a lot of choices for me in terms of gainers today. Do want to point out airline stocks. We saw them rallying along with the broader market after the latest batch of economic data was upbeat. We're talking about the jobs market we got this morning. So maybe assuaging fears that there was a U.S. economic slowdown coming, although many will remind us that maybe all of the data to come, we'll see how the tariff impact may come in future data points. Nonetheless, Delta among the top gainers in the S&P 500, a gain of about 6.5% in today's session. Your number one gainer, I should also point out Delta, after the close last night, authorizing a $1 billion share buyback repurchase plan. So I'm sure that certainly was at play. All right, to the number one gainer in the S&P 500, Nasdaq 100. We're talking about Dexcom. It was up about 16% in today's session, pretty much closing at its best levels of the day. Makers of glucose monitoring systems posted better than expected revenue for the first quarter. Analysts noting a recovery in U.S. sales. BTIG saying the beat shows Dexcom is, quote, back on track. Five Below, this plays into kind of the value retail space in a big way, up about 12% in today's session, so rallying. The company came out increasing its first quarter forecasts for sales and profit. Stock is still down, though, about 20% year to date. And
you know what I love about Five Below? You know they have all the different Haribo gummy bears, like all the different flavors.
Do they?
Yes.
Oh
it's
my
like
God.
a little dirty little
there.
secret.
Yeah,
Secret's out now.
so you shop there often?
Yes, because he likes the Haribo gummies.
Just for that.
If you go by his desk around 7 a.m., that's what you're going to get.
Well, they are saying thank you, Romaine, for shopping there.
You do. I've seen you.
No, I don't.
Wait, gummies at
I
7
only
a.m.?
eat healthy.
I've seen it.
I never see him eat lunch, so this actually
you.
explains a lot.
Yes, there we go.
All right, moving along. Finley
Salads.
said I could have 4 gainers
Carrots.
today. Thank you, Finley. Duolingo up about 21%, so finishing at its highs of the session. Thank you, actually, Emily, because she brought this to my attention. Boosting its
Or should
outlook.
you be saying domo arigato?
Raised full-year sales and profit outlook due to the success of its AI offering. Sounds like you've been using it, Romaine.
Muchas gracias.
Anyway, the AI offering is driving subscribers to that space, and that's a higher subscription. So, yeah,
Wonderful.
good stuff.
All right, Emily.
All right, so Carol had 4 gainers. I'm just going to do 3 decliners, though. But those gainers were really wonderful. Apple down 4% on a day when pretty much everything else was up. I found these decliners, and one of them was, one of the biggest companies in the stock market. The iPhone maker reported China's sales were disappointing. They warned about the impact of tariffs, with Tim Cook saying that the planned U.S. tariffs on foreign imports will add $900 million in costs. We also got 2 rare downgrades on Apple today from Jefferies and Rosenblatt Securities, both turning more bearish on that stock than they were previously. I'm also looking at Block. Those shares sank as much as 24%. This is a digital payments company. They cut their gross profit guidance for the full year. And then the results also showed that their Cash App card spending unit came in weaker than expected, with consumers pulling back on spending on travel and entertainment. They were still spending, though, on those staples purchases like gas and groceries, but it's not a great macro read-through.
Do you use this Cash App, Emily?
I don't, but I do see the Block interface, like when you go to checkout on places.
A lot of times, right.
You kind of
Farmers
see that.
markets and
Yeah, I guess it
things
used
like
to be
that.
Square, now it's Block.
Farmers markets, aren't you fancy?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. So this is another company that I'm not familiar with. I don't know if any of you guys play video games. Take-Two Interactive. If you're superstitious, this was not a good number to end the day on. It was down 6.66%. Those shares were down today. The video game company delayed the release of Grand Theft Auto. It was supposed to launch this fall. Yeah. It's now not launching now. Grand Theft Auto 6.
Shocker.
Grand Theft Auto 6.
Next year. Right, sorry, not the actual
ones.
iconic video game.
Wow.
But the 6th version is now not coming out for
Who would
at
have
least
thought
another
that
year.
would have been delayed?
Maybe they just got to make it cooler.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I remember standing outside, doing the man on the street interviews for those who were lining up overnight to get the Grand Theft Auto. This was like 20 years ago.
The original one?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say you were lined up out there.
No,
looking
someone being
to buy
like,
Grand
tell me how you feel with the camera there. Should I go to yields? Should we go to yields, guys?
Go to yields.
Do it.
All right. So it was quite an interesting day, actually. So obviously you get the headline number from jobs and you see higher yields all across the board. But particularly in the 2 and the 5 and the 10s, we're now at the level that we saw since the beginning of April. Not so much with the 30s. So that's, I think, a little interesting as well. But for the short end and then the belly, you're definitely seeing yields back to where we were from like April 9th.
It's like nothing happened.
Guys. It's like nothing happened.
Except that so much did.
Except so much did, which raises the question, how do you then think about buying and investing when we get more of these whippy headlines then? Does that set you up more for buying the dip because we now know what it looks like when in a turbulent month?
Well, thank you for setting me up so nicely, Alex. Really appreciate it. A story that caught our attention here, it has to do with Warren Buffett's favorite valuation indicator that's flashing a buy signal. It's called the Buffett indicator. It measures the ratio of the stock market's total value to the dollar value of U.S. gross domestic product. It's currently at its lowest level since early September, Emily.
Yeah, this is, I guess, signaling that equities are relatively cheap. Even after the rally that we've had, the valuation signals are looking pretty healthy right now. This is like a classic, signal that us, at least us on the print side of the newsroom, look at.
One interesting thing, though, when I saw this, because there was another report out just the day before about just how narrow the equity risk premium is right now. When you take global stocks and you sort of put them up against what you would get in the fixed income space relative to that, I mean, it's still like the narrowest that we've had in several years, and that could maybe potentially be an impediment to future gains.
Do you think he's going to bring this up tomorrow at the annual general meeting of Berkshire Hathaway?
Oh, yeah, I thought you meant this conversation?
Not this
Yes.
conversation.
I was going to say, you know what Scarlet Fu
Hold
said
on a
about
minute.
me
Warren's
yesterday?
calling, guys.
Exactly.
He wants
By
to
the
jump
way, next Thursday, I don't know if this is actually going to happen, but next Thursday is VE Day, and President Trump has proposed making that a not necessarily a holiday, but designating it as Victory Day for World War II. And so a lot of people are wondering, does that mean we're actually going to get a national holiday at some point? And he wants to rename Veterans Day, which is November 11th, as Victory Day for World War I. He wants to, in other words, celebrate the U.S.'s role in ending both world wars.
I don't know where to go from there.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
Do you want an extra holiday?
I mean, everybody does.
Well, actually, we don't actually give out Veterans Day off anyway, though. The market's
It's true,
open.
and we clearly want to celebrate those for World War II. It's interesting when you wind up dissecting it into different wars versus just one day where we celebrate all veterans at the end of the day. And that is the end of the sign. Thank
On
you
that
for playing.
It's been a week. It's been a week. All right, that is a wrap, guys.
But you guys are going off, right, to LA?
We are going to go off to Milken, talk to a lot of folks, certainly in the financial space and corporate space and political space. So we'll see what they have to say
Maybe
in terms of
the
optimism.
entertainment space.
And
too.
by you
Go to
guys, we
LA.
mean Romain Bostic and Carol Master will be headlining, along with Shonali Bostic, the great interviews from California and the Milken Conference.
Wow, see, Alex knows how to sell it. Carol, that was kind of lackluster.
I don't know. All right, that is a wrap.
Just tired from prepping.
Thank you very much. I am tired from prepping. That is a wrap. Our cross-platform radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals. Folks, we call it the closing bell. We will all see you, some of us see you next week on Monday.